All right. Happy Thursday. Sorry the call didn't go down. Trainerize was down. The whole system was down. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't get messages out. I couldn't set up the call. So I beg your forgiveness with with the matter. That being said, all that behind us, what are we here to talk about? I know sometimes I get into more metaphysical topics or emotional or philosophical topics and try to bring it back to fitness. Today we're just going to talk about the nuts and bolts of fitness, the programming, how to lift, how to expend yourself, the mind, like the actual what is your mind set on when you're lifting? What are you doing? How are you eating? That's it. That's it. So first we're going to talk about diet. I'm going to run you through a quick refresher course of a diet. In the world, I had some guy tell me about how he's on, the lion diet when I was on my way into the gym or on my way in to make this call. In the world, there's fad diets coming at us left and right. If we try to go on the internet, if we try to go on YouTube to understand the proper way to eat, we're gonna get sold something. It's gonna be a program. It's gonna be something, and it's not gonna be in our favor. It's gonna be in the favor of the merchant who's selling it to you because their program costs money. Fortunately, around here we deal in reality, and the hard truth of the matter is there's no way to lose weight in a healthy manner besides a methodical, balanced diet with programmed macronutrients for your training style and for your body type. And yes, it is a cumbersome process, but there is no easier, softer way. And so we have to make a commitment to the diet because that's 85% of the equation. 15% is training, 85% of the equation is diet. And so we have to have a moderate to high level of carbohydrates. We have to have a high level of protein coming in, and we have to have a low level of fat coming in. A gram of carbs is 4 calories. A gram of protein is 4 calories. A gram of fat is 9 calories. Guess what macronutrient you have hanging off of your body in stores? If you guessed fat, you are correct. So by limiting the amount of dietary fat we intake, we can have the largest caloric deficit while not putting ourselves at risk for a nutrient deficiency. But Rob, what if I don't get my fats? Guess what? Your body has access to the macronutrient of fat. It's on your body in stores. And so when you're not taking it in through your diet, your body's forced to go to the stores for that needed macronutrient, causing you to have high energy, be able to function at a high level, be able to train at a high level, and burn fat like a maniac. But in order to do that, you have to maintain a low level of dietary fat. Okay, so that's how we lose weight. We cut out the fat, we eat specific macronutrients designed for our body type and for our training type. How do we gain muscle? Well, good news, if you're relatively untrained, if you're eating more protein than you have in the past, and you're causing your muscles to adapt to a new stress, you're going to gain muscle even if you're in a caloric deficit. But once you hit a certain level of strength, once you hit a certain level of gains, if you will, the process becomes much more complicated and much more tedious. Because once we work through our noob gains, that's the gains that somebody makes when they're relatively untrained. And a lot of people here don't have access to noob gains anymore. You're too strong, you've been doing it too long. Now the only way to add weight is to be in a caloric surplus. How do we do that? Okay, great question. Well, we still keep our fat relatively low. Our protein doesn't change much. It might go up a little bit. But what we do is we increase our carb load and we increase our clean carb load. If you think being on a cut is tough, if you think being on a diet is tough, try being on a reverse diet building muscle. because it's easier to be on a cut because it's what you're doing. You're taking less action by putting less food in your mouth. When you're in a reverse diet, you're taking more action by putting more food in your mouth. Your body has to digest that food. You have to go through that process and stay on top of it and constantly be eating. It's more difficult to be in a reverse diet. So what we do is we increase the amount of clean carbs that we take. And when we do it from a cut, we do it incrementally. So we don't just go from being fully ripped and lean to, okay, now our carbs are gonna go through the roof. No, we incrementally add carbohydrates to our diet so our body knows how to make use of them. What do carbohydrates do for us? They're fuel for our brain. Our brain runs off glucose. They're fuel for our muscles. They also function as a nutrient delivery system. So it's the nutrient that delivers the carb or the protein to your muscles. It's necessary. And by increasing them, we have more energy to draw from. So here's the catch when you're in a reverse. You have to work harder. You have to put in more effort to your lifts, okay? So when you're in a reverse, when you're in this program, you're always putting effort into your lifts. When you're in a reverse, now you have the energy to draw on to put in more. And with that being said, when we're in a reverse, we don't go crazy on our fat intake. Our fat intake still remains relatively low. And when we're doing this, if we're doing this high and tight, like when you're in reverse, you could be a little bit more flexible about it. We have the opportunity to work in a cheat day or whatever, but we're still relatively low fat compared to the standard American diet. And we're just working hard, taking a lot of protein, a lot of carbs, being high energy, performing at a high level, adding muscle. And it gets to a point where we will start adding fat back, but we're not going to go back to our old selves. We want to reverse until our abs are just outside of visible, and then we hit a cut again. I don't like this whole like bulking until you get uncomfortably big. That there's a time and a place for it. It doesn't apply to us here because we're bringing the best version of ourselves to the world. We're not necessarily getting on stage. We're not going through that dirty bulk phase like is popular with a lot of people. Okay, that's how we diet. That's how we eat. How do we train? Training is a very hot topic in my world because everybody fucking does it wrong. Nobody trains right. And I'm so fortunate that I have y'all actually following what programs I put out and not questioning it too much because we're doing it right here. We're actually training right. And what that looks like in a cut or in a reverse is a two-pronged approach. We work in a strength exercise, and then we move into an accessory workout, a muscle building workout. So training with resistance training is designed to do one of two things. First being getting stronger. Second is to add muscle mass. The way you get stronger is not the way you add muscle mass. The way you add muscle mass is not the way you get stronger. Now, if you only focus on one or the other, like if you're only focused on adding muscle mass, you will get stronger to a certain degree, but not as strong as you would get as if you were focused on strength training, and vice versa. If you were focused on strength training, you will add muscle mass, but not to the degree if you were focused on adding muscle mass. So what do we do in that instance? We do it both. We set up a strength workout, usually the first one or two workouts, depending on how it's set up. We program that from a strength perspective. We are doing this workout so we can get stronger. And then we follow up with our accessory workouts. Now we're doing high volume, more intensity, more engagement. We're doing that so we get bigger. A strength workout looks like low rep, heavy weight. A muscle building, mass building, hypertrophy workout looks like lots of reps, high intensity, medium amount of weight. They're both needed. And it's kind of a conundrum because you can only get as strong as you are big, and you can only get as big as you are strong. So you have to periodize both. So for in every time you go into the weight room, you can make it more complicated, but I like to keep it simple because it's what works for me. So every time you go into the weight room, one of your workouts, one or two of your sets needs to be extremely uncomfortably heavy until failure. And if you have a spotter that can help you through, one or two more reps after failure, even better for your strength workout. So we have one or two strength workouts per workout session, and the rest are accessory, the muscle building, the mass building workouts. And from there, we hit them both with intensity, but with different end goals in mind. The strength workout is to lift a new heavy weight, a new heavier amount of weight, a new PR for us in terms of weight and reps, and to continuously, progressively overload that one lift so we get stronger. And then the hypertrophy side of it, we're continually adding intensity to our accessory lifts so we can build bigger muscles and get more of a bodybuilder physique out of it. It can get really complicated. And sometimes, depending on how advanced somebody is, we will have to be more complicated. We will have to enter a new era of being complicated in terms of, the word escapes me right now, but I know it. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. And so with that said, like those, the diet, the training, those are the basics of the program. Now, what are you thinking about when you step into the gym? Are you stepping in to go through the motions? Just, okay, Rob says I got to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get it over with. Or are you going in there with the mindset like, hey, this is time for myself. This is self-improvement time. I'm going to attack this like I know that I can, like I want to attack and approach everything else that's important in my life and bring everything that I can to it. Because the way that we train is the way that we're going to do everything. So if we're just going through the motions in the gym, we're just going to be going through the motions in our marriage. If we're putting it all out in the gym, we're going to be putting it all out in our business. And so use this as our baseline, as our barometer for how much are we in integrity with ourselves? Because by virtue of being in this program, you've declared that you want to be stronger, better, in better shape, have a better physique, all of the above. You want to feel better about yourself. And so how hard are you willing to go to maintain that integrity with yourself, especially on the days you don't feel like it? And you know me, man, the days that I don't feel like it are the days that we do it hard, because those are the days that it means more. And in fact, the days I don't feel like doing it is when I get my best sessions out of it. Same thing with my business. If I don't want to be working the phones and I don't want to be doing it, but I'm giving it everything that I have in that moment in spite of my little baby feelings, that's when I pull the most leads out. If I'm doing the workouts in spite of my little baby feelings, that's when I'm setting new PRs. So don't let your feelings prevent you from having a breakthrough day. Stick to it, show up, keep your mind set on being in integrity with yourself and giving everything that you can to these workouts. Because when you're not doing these workouts, you're giving everything you can to the rest of the world. So why don't you take some time for yourself, specify this time that you're going to give everything within you for yourself. Keep your mind set on that. Think about that. And when you're in that exhausted state after a set, that's when I want you to visualize your future. Got it? Hit me up if you have any questions. I love you guys. Thanks for watching this. I will talk to you soon.